Hello everyone, and welcome to another one of Cortlandtville Historical Society's educational videos. Coming back to the idea of everyday life in the 18th century, if you wanted to get in touch with someone, to talk to them or let them know what was going on in your life, but they were too far away or you weren't able to visit them, you would write a letter. So this is what we're ready to do. In the 18th century, you would have a quill pen, which was a feather from a bird, usually geese were the most common, and an inkwell that you would be writing from. I am going to be using a modern version of a calligraphy tipped pen because it's a little easier to write with for me, but gives the same kind of idea. So to start a letter, the first thing you always want to do is put the date on top. Today is April 8th. And you'll notice as I write this, you're going to need to re-dip because you actually are dipping the ink or dipping the pen into ink and writing along with that. So next you would be writing to someone. I'm going to have a little fun with this and be writing to Cornelia Van Cortlandt, who was one of the Van Cortlandt family members. She married into the Beekman family, but was very prominent during the Revolutionary War and supported, along with her family, the revolutionary efforts. So, giving it a little bit of a 18th century flair, I'm going to write dearest. And you would usually want to see how the person is doing. I apologize that this is upside down for you, but we are not designed for this modern technology. Letter. I hope this letter finds you well. And then I could continue writing maybe about what I've been doing. I might talk about how my family is, if this were a friend, someone who knows the people in my family and anything that has been going on with them. And I would, of course, be asking to know what was happening with her. So I'm thinking about writing and kind of creating a record of what is going on for us today, because we are living in a most likely historic time, going through quarantine and the coronavirus. So this is a good chance to kind of think about, how has your life changed? What are you doing differently? And you can think about writing that down as if you're telling someone, maybe a historical figure that you like, that you think about how their lives were affected by things that were going on around them. So because I would actually have to be writing this and then actually let the ink dry, I'm not going to write a full letter. So I would write what was happening with me, maybe what I've been doing, activities and things, and any news that might be important to the person that I'm writing to. And then I would sign my letter. I'm again going to go with an 18th century style, something like your humble servant. There are a lot of different options for how people signed. They might say their friend, if they're a family relation, they might refer to that. But your humble servant was kind of a common and popular way of just signing off. And I'm going to further have a little fun and sign my name in the font that they would have used in the 18th century. Forgot that a little bit, but so you can see my name is Lindsay. This probably looks a bit like an F to you, but in the 18th century style of writing, this was actually an S, so this was how they would have been writing. So then I would set that letter aside to dry, and I have a copy that I wrote earlier. Now, they did not put their letters in an envelope and put a stamp on it and write the address on the back the way we would. This would actually be the letter itself becomes the envelope in addition to the contents. So there's a special way of folding it. So I can fold the one side over, and if I really wanted to impress the person I was writing to, I might be using special tools to get really crisp, clean folds, but I'm writing this as if we're friends, so I can be a little bit more relaxed about it. So I folded the sides, and what that's going to do is make sure that when it is folded and sealed, no one can kind of peek into the side. It'll be a little easier to show you that once it's all folded. Then this part comes up not quite halfway, and you'll see why, because I do want a little bit of extra space. I fold it up again. And now I have this extra piece on the top that comes down. And I don't have glue or something that I can lick to seal it. Instead, I have sealing wax. So this is just a candle of wax. I'm going to light it from my candle here. Take. Hold that down. I'm going to let a few drops fall. I think I've burnt my wax a little bit, which is not ideal, but we can work with that. So yeah, the black spots in there is just because the wax did burn a little bit, but I'm going to work with it as best I can. I'm going to put it safely over here because it is quite hot, so I'm putting it in a nice little covering there. And what I'm getting over here, which I know is out of screen for you, but I'm getting a little bit of oil on my seal, so I can press that into the wax, let it set a little bit. I actually don't want to retouch that. So now you can see, probably a little hard to see, but there is the image pressed into the wax there. And what this does is it makes sure that the letter actually will stay closed. And again, like how I mentioned before, no one can, well, they could get a little peek, but it would be very difficult to peek down the sides. So now when whoever I'm writing this to, or Cornelia Van Cortlandt Beekman, when she receives this, if she sees this nice solid seal intact, she knows no one has been going through her mail and been snooping into what her friends are talking to her about. So on the other side is where I would write to her. Beekman was her married name, so I'm going with that. She was married at the time of the Revolution, so we're going to work as if we were working from there. I can add, I was trying to use up the ink, but not quite. Add a little bit of flair that way, and have that design. So there you have an 18th century letter that could be sent to a friend and written to. So I'm going to suggest that anyone who's interested in a project of their own could write a letter to anyone you can think of, maybe a historical figure if you know of someone who's lived in this area, or just a historical figure you look up to. It doesn't have to be an 18th century one. And I would like you to write a letter to them telling them about what's going on in your life today. How are you maybe working from home or doing schoolwork from home? What are you doing in more of your spare time, or how are you having fun? And what activities are you doing? Anything that you think would be interesting for someone who's also lived through a big historical experience to know how your life is going and what's going on with you. If you'd like, you can turn these letters into Van Cortlandtville Historical Society when we are open again. We have open houses and lecture programs that you can come to once a month, so we would love to see your letters. If you don't happen to have sealing wax and seals, you could also use a sticker and just put a sticker that you like and use that in place to hold it, and it still gives the same idea. So thank you for watching our video, and I hope you enjoy those to come.